Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Now, find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all sports information, from live in-game betting props and futures. Head to Bet Online today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Now, use our promo code BLEAV50 to receive your 50%. Welcome your bonus on your first deposit. Now, Bet Online is where the game starts.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to BLEAV and Bills podcast, of course, brought to you from Bet Online. Shout out to FamBase, 96.5 WUFO. I'm your host, Justice General Radford, and of course, I got with me, as always, a legend in two games. We got Coach Muki Hawkins in the building, getting ready for training camp tomorrow, right? You'll be there, you know what I mean? And of course, tonight, we got becoming a regular, you know what I mean? Hilbert's finest, my man Jamal Harris. What's going on, Jamal? How you doing, man? Can't hear you, brother. How you doing, Mook? You getting ready for training camp tomorrow? What's going on, man?
Man, yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to be there tomorrow. Got to get the first day in. It'd be good to see, my fellow co-workers, Bills Media. Shout out to all my crew. Everybody that's going to be on the beat again this year. It's going to be another exciting year, So definitely a lot of storylines, a lot of things that, we can talk about, with this team. Obviously, the expectations, concerning the team. It's a lot of things to unpack again, but, I'm really excited that the season is finally here and we could just get back to stacking W's,
Yeah, absolutely. Getting forward to the process of what it takes to stack those W's, because that's what we're going to be looking forward to for the next few months until the regular season or until preseason gets here. But it starts tomorrow, and it's late, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and get into the swing of things now. One thing that's kind of lost a little bit of steam throughout this whole off-season free agency process and all of the drama with Diggs and whatnot. One storyline that has lost, I feel like, a bit of steam is the fact that we just lost a top 5, top 10 middle linebacker in the league for absolutely nothing, and didn't really have a concrete replacement plan in order for that. So what are the Bills going to be doing to shore up that position, Coach?
Well, I think it's going to be done by committee. When you look at now McDermott, back at the guy, back being the guy that's calling the plays now, and we know this, he's calling the plays. No more Leslie Frazier. Leslie Frazier is over in Buffalo, so Coach McDermott is calling the shots until he want to designate either John Butler or Bobby Babbage to, be the play caller for the defense. But I think you're going to see a more aggressive Bills team that's going to compensate for not having Tremaine in that center of the defense, a guy that really controlled the middle. He really dictated how quarterbacks threw in the middle because he was so, 6'5", the wingspan was ridiculous. So, he kind of, made quarterbacks go elsewhere with the football when it comes to coming across the middle. So that's going to be compensated with a defense that's going to be a little bit more aggressive. You may see, this defense to be exotic based upon the acquisitions of what they brought in with the Leonard Floyd and the Puna Ford. I mean, you tell me anything that this doesn't have the signs of a 3-4 defense at times. Not saying that it's going to be converted to a 3-4 defense, entire way, but I do believe that at times you will see an odd front, with this Bills defense because they have the players to do it. So more exotic, more aggressive look with the Buffalo Bills that's going to compensate for the loss of Tremaine Edmonds.
I certainly hope so. uh, Jamal, what do you think the answer is to this question here for McDermott in the defense?
Kind of more of what kind of what Mookie said, kind of linebacker by committee. I think Dorian Williams will kind of lead the way, kind of taking the majority of those steps and kind of leading the way as far as replacing Tremaine. But kind of like I said on the show like a couple of shows ago, the defense is strong in like every other area. I mean, the secondary, one of the best in the league, if not the best. Defensive line is straight. I mean, that linebacker, it is a weakness, a significant weakness, but it's like one of the only weaknesses on the defense. So I'm not too worried about that. I think McDermott and those guys can get that figured out before the season starts.
I certainly hope so. I mean, listen, this is one of the best teams in the league, and although we know that, there still is a lot to be done. I feel like the last two off seasons, you could feasibly look at the roster and go, "Oh, there's not too much that needs to," you know what I mean? You could, add this or that, maybe add a significant player to put it over the top. But it was a great roster here. Somehow I still feel like we have a better roster than we had last year, but there are still some issues that are keeping us from winning a championship. And one of those issues happened to be the guy who calls the plays. At least it was last year. How does that go this year, Jamal?
I'm sorry, repeat that question. I didn't catch all of it.
Ken Dorsey, what do you think? What are your expectations for Ken Dorsey in his second year?
Oh, Dorsey. I expect Dorsey to get better. It's the second year being a play caller, so I expect the experience for him to be better. I still expect for him to be successful. I mean, we were second in yards, second in points. I mean, it was a pretty good offense last year. Like I always remind people, even with the year when we got away to the divisional round with the Chiefs and 13 seconds, that was not a very good offense for the mid part to the second half of that year. That was not very good. They were good for the beginning, kind of fell off for most of that year, and then kind of turned it on towards the end and got hot at the right time. But Ken Dorsey, you may not think he's as good as Dable, but at least that offense was more consistent from day one all the way to the end of the season. And so I expected him to get better. I expected the offense to still be good. And we'll see if he learns from his mistakes from a year ago.
Hopefully, I mean, of course, he's a rookie, and I mean, see, like if he was the coach of any other team, I would say don't be so hard on him. However, he happens to be the coach of my favorite team and a team that is supposed to be was literally the Super Bowl favorites last year and played like it for the first quarter of the season. What do you feel like needs to be Dorsey's game plan going forward in order to be a successful football team coach?
Still for me,
Coach.
I mean, obviously, year one there was some growing pains in this offense. Let's make no mistake about it. Yeah, they did. They were the number 2 in total yards. They were number 2 in scoring. But guess what? That wasn't good enough. That wasn't good enough to get you out of the first round of the playoffs or the divisional. So it's not good enough. Number 2 being number 2 is not good enough. So Dorsey has to learn some things. How to preserve his quarterback. When you have a lead, all right, that's what you got running backs for. Right? You got running backs to control the game for you, dictate the clock, keep the clock running, and maintain the lead. You got to understand that. Short yard situations, you definitely want to see, that evolve and that improve. You definitely want to see the Bills, improve a lot inside the red zone. I mean, for them to have Josh Allen to be dynamic as he is, and Stephon Diggs is as dynamic as he is, they could be so much more better if they were a little bit more efficient, and if they executed more better in the red zone. I mean, you take half of Josh's interceptions and possibility half of Tyler Bass's field goals inside the 20, and say those are touchdowns. You never know, like, obviously that would definitely be a number one total yards, number one scoring, but it would, definitely shed light on basically on how really high powered this offense really is. And it has separated itself from all the other offenses. If they could just clean those things up, the turnovers, and converting three into seven. I mean, that's the big issue with this. The Bills can go 20-20 with anybody in the NFL, but if they're not converting those long drives, those great drives into touchdowns, and they're only getting field goals out of them, they have to get better in that regard on how to preserve the game and dictate the game a little bit more and learn how to finish. You can say that. I mean, they won 14 games last season, but in some realms of it, they need to know how to really put your opponent away and close it out. So hopefully Dorsey will get that. And obviously move Stephon Diggs around for he can make plays where teams can't take him away, and you don't have no other alternative. So yeah, those are some of the things we want to see Dorsey improve at.
Yeah, that definitely goes. For sure. When you look at the Bills' offense last year, you rarely ever see them stalled. Right? It was like there weren't very many like just 3-and-outs or we just can't move the ball at all. They were always moving the ball perfectly fine, and then once they got in the red zone, when the field is short and the safeties don't have to play as deep, things change, and I feel like that's where your play calling is really going to come out. And that kind of speaks to why the offense needs a little kick. And shout out to everybody in the comment section on that, Andre. Bills would have been undefeated. I mean, they very well could have been undefeated, literally. So yeah, but you talked about them moving Stephon Diggs around in the offense. One of the other storylines from this offseason going into camp is the aforementioned Stephon Diggs and how the last season ended, obviously, with the confrontation with Josh Allen, storming out of the locker room, rightfully so, if you ask me. But, just the he's, I was obviously, disappointed and disgruntled in the way the season ended. Again, rightfully so, if you ask me. But that is a thing now, right? He has he's given himself a little bit of a reputation, with his departure from Minnesota. And despite whether or not he is the diva that everyone thinks he is, or, whether he's like this locker room cancer, which I don't think he is any of that stuff. I really think it's being blown out of proportion. But he did earn himself that reputation. So, people are going to assume, and although it may be unfair, it is warranted. How does the whole Stephon Diggs issue get handled going into the training camp coach?
I'm not sure. I mean, we'll find out tomorrow. I mean, either Steph going to appear, dolo. If I was a gambling man, maybe they bring Josh and Steph out at the same time and just get it over with, or whatever the case. Other than that, Steph is going to face the music his way, and that's what it's going to be.
The way you're saying that, it kind of feels like this is going to be something that is like, it could be some type of like anxiety, like build up for, or whatever the case may be. Wouldn't that moment have kind of happened earlier in the workouts when he showed up?
I don't know. Until we hear from Diggs and what he has to say about the whole entire situation, then everybody can move forward. We can close the door on it, whatever it is. It is. Hey, lie to me if you want to. I don't care. Just say what you need to say and move on from it. And I'm over it. Like, I'm glad he voiced his opinion. I'm glad he voiced his opinion. Somebody had to say something. Something ain't right. Something just ain't right. You just gonna be content with just losing 3 years in a row when you're supposed to be that team, and nobody's saying nothing. Somebody had to say something. So, hey, I don't have no problem with him saying what he said to, put everybody on notice and make everyone accountable of the task at hand. The task at hand is winning the Super Bowl, fellas. It's not, getting this check or that check like that. Once you start playing for a check, then, I'm quite sure Stephon Diggs don't, he don't want to be on your team like that. I mean? He's going to make his money because he earned his money on who he is and the work that he put in. But it's about winning Super Bowls. You won all the titles. When is that going to materialize to at least an AFC championship? Winning. You get to the Super Bowl. That's all you can do is get to the Super Bowl, win, lose, or draw, and let the chips fall where they may. But you have the team to get there. So it's something that's not connecting. It's a disconnect somewhere on why that isn't happening with this team. So, this year, hopefully we can unlock that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully so. Jamal, I've been hearing some ideas on what should be happening to Stephon Diggs from Bills Mafia, right? And the like, right? Some people have been saying that he should be traded. He's a locker room cancer. Some people say he should get the ball more. Some people says, what do you think the solution to this Stephon Diggs quote unquote issue is?
That's a great question, and I'm not really too sure. I mean, for this situation to be handled, it's going to be, handled as well as Stephon Diggs wants it to be handled. I mean, he's kind of, like I said, though his reasons may be valid, I mean, he's kind of created this whole scenario within himself, and not talking to the media, showing up as QB on the sideline, storming out the locker room. Those are all things that he's done. So, this is kind of festered over, and then, McDermott, adding fuel to the fire with what he said. This is a big storyline now. They could quiet a lot of the noise. He have a press conference with himself. McDermott, Allen tomorrow, see how it goes. Quiet a lot of that noise. But we really don't know until the season goes on. Is he going to show up Josh Allen again on the sideline? Will it be a coach this time? I mean, we really don't know. His actions are going to be looked at with a microscope now. And so, being a head coach in this league is about, managing different personalities. And so that's up to McDermott now. He's got to manage that personality. Diggs has a brash one. And, we'll see, how good of a job he does at doing that. But, we've kind of, passed that line now to where, that stuff's out of the can. And so, we'll see with Diggs. It'll be really telling to see, what happens this season with his antics. And, if it goes back to just being regular Diggs, without all the stuff, on the sideline or whatever, we'll be great. But, we'll see how the season goes on.
What antics are you talking about?
I was about to say,
I mean, you showed up your QB on the sideline in a playoff game. Those are antics. Sorry. Those bring bad attention to you. They just do. They just do.
I will say this. I was at
That's not good.
I was at the stadium in the divisional game. Cold as hell. All right. The effort that was put in that game, somebody need to be on the sideline screaming because there was no effort.
Look, I agree with you, but that's a bad look. It is a bad look. I'm just sorry it is.
What I'm saying is that if there is no Stephon Diggs in that situation, let's say he handled it like Josh Allen handled it, right? With a quiet upsetness. I really feel like the coaches wouldn't have gotten the the accountability that they should have gotten. Because they need to be held accountable for what the hell they put on the field on that day. It was not good enough by any stretch of the imagination. So somebody needed to be mad because I was mad. Every fan I saw leaving the stadium was mad. So I'm glad Stephon Diggs was mad personally. I mean, that's how I feel about it. Somebody needed to be mad. That was pathetic what they did.
I'm glad. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be stuff, and there's a certain way to go about it. I mean, you could do that stuff in the locker room. You don't got to do it on the sideline in front of all the national media for the press to see it. So that's what I'm just saying. I mean, you see people talk about this stuff in national media. They keep bringing it up and bringing it up. I mean, it's an issue. I mean, it's not a good look. It just isn't.
When you mentioned the antics, you also mentioned storming out of the locker room. So where is he supposed to show his frustration? I mean,
I'm just saying. I mean, your team captain is supposed to speak to the media and whatnot, and then you got to be, I mean, that's also goes part with this. That goes along with the stories. I mean, that just just adds more fuel to the fire.
And I feel like good personally. I mean McDermott and Bean got the extensions. Like we're fully
Well,
aware.
McDermott did lie and say that he wasn't there when he was there, though.
Right.
You know
And
what
I
I
did
mean?
say that
Like,
added fuel.
so
I said
so
that added
when
fuel
we
to the
talk
fire
about
as well.
antics, like he literally lied and said that Stephon Diggs wasn't there when
And
he
coached
was
very
there. When you had a
crappy in
whole
the playoff game.
conversation
He
with
also
this
did
man.
that.
And I said that he added fuel to the fire as well. But I'm not gonna absolve Stephon Diggs to be like he's like giving the benefit of the doubt, like he like had no idea, like he didn't create the situation. I mean, he created like 70% of the situation. Like, let's be serious here.
How
I don't think the
how he created
discrepancy is that he
70% of
created
that
the
situation?
situation.
Explain
Like
that.
It was his actions. He didn't show. He showed up the QB on the sideline.
And what did that mean?
That's not a good look. That shows diviness. You can show competitiveness, but that's going to show diviness. And what happened in Minnesota after a few years. After a few years, he wants to get out of there. He's saying stuff. So I mean, he's earned that reputation, like Justice said. And now you're showing a little bit in Buffalo, and that's what people are going to say about you.
We don't
Fair
know
or
what
not, it's
really
not a
went
good
on in
look.
Minnesota. That's what them people saying out in Minnesota that a lot of people was running with too. You know what I mean? So we can't just be running about what people said in Minnesota like that's
I'm
really
also not gonna give him the
translating
benefit
to
of the doubt just
what
because he's
Diggs
stuff
is
on
doing
Diggs. Like
now.
I'm just not gonna do that. I'm just gonna put together the dots to see the stuff I see in Minnesota and see the stuff I stay here, and just saying, hey, it's not a good look. All
see,
I'm
I
saying.
think the difference between what you're saying and what I'm saying is I don't really feel like he needs any benefit of the doubt. Like you're just not okay with what he did. I like what he did. I'm fully okay with what he did, and I encourage it because all this little storyline crap is going to pale in comparison to what it takes for them to get a fire under their ass and lift the Lombardi in February. So
I'm
if
saying
that's
it's
what
an
it takes
unnecessary
for him,
distraction for the team going to the
I,
season, and it could keep looming
if,
over them.
if if they needed to be embarrassed publicly for us to get to February, I'm fine with it. I'm cool with that because they needed to be embarrassed publicly because they embarrassed all of us publicly.
I don't know. I mean, so you think it's okay for the Bills to get their ass whooped at home, and nobody's going to be mad at that? Nobody's going to feel a certain type of way about that?
I wouldn't even want football players on
And
my
you've been
team
pegged
that
the
wasn't
favorite
mad
to go to the
that
Super
day.
Bowl 3 years in a row. You
That's
Yeah.
lose a
not the
game
way
in
you go
13
about it as
seconds.
professional. Not the
Uh,
way you
We
go
get the
about it as professional.
professional portion of it. Yeah, we get
uh,
that.
yeah.
But it's not like he's doing it every game. He's not
Yeah.
doing it every game.
Right.
So when he is doing it,
That's what
I
I'm
say
saying.
he's
It's
got
not, but
valid
we'll see
points.
as it goes to years if it continues. That's why I said we'll see as the year goes on if it continues. We'll see.
And you know what else? When they start being mediocre or the play calling starts sliding down or McDermott or whoever is not making great decisions, they think back to, oh, okay, I got a wide receiver that's going to call me out. Maybe I should think differently here. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm
And that
fully
could also
aware of
be an
that.
issue. My wide receiver's gonna call me out. Let me force feed him the ball, and now he gets picked.
Well,
I
if
mean,
there
that could
was a
have
player
negative
to force
effects as well.
feed,
Listen,
it's
let's say this. Stephon Diggs was targeted 149 times and he caught 110 of them last year. So all that forcing the ball and shit out the window. Miss me with that. Like
there's
it's
one
no
player
way
to
you
force feed
forcing the
14.
ball. It's just that when it's money time and teams are just taking your best player away, you don't think that's a problem? When teams are just allowed to take your best player away, you can't do nothing about it. You don't think that's a problem and you're not winning?
I never said it's a problem. I said the way you went about it. The way he went about it wasn't good.
Hey, some people go about things a lot different than most. You know what I mean? So it was
Also,
never addressed. When it was addressed, I guess Coach McDermott didn't like it and went and said what he said, and that's what caused the stir. You know what I mean? So yeah, we gotta see how it materializes during training camp. Have they gotten on one page, one accord on how this thing should go going moving forward? Does Stephon Diggs get his wishes? Does Coach McDermott get his wishes? You know what I mean? Is it a win-win solution for everybody? That's the common denominator of it all. Is a solution? Is it a win-win solution for everybody, all the parties involved, everybody that's having a grievance about whatever issue they got? That's all I'm saying. And hopefully, that'll be the case. I'm quite sure that was talked about today Stephon Diggs reported to camp. You know what I mean? So I'm quite sure these conversations has been had or discussed, you know, on the phone probably when Diggs is in Paris. You never know at this point because now you know we identifying the issue. So can't wait a whole off season to try to rectify things, and things hasn't still been, you know, we ain't on the same page, obviously. So hopefully the Bills have gotten on that page, and we'll see throughout the course of training camp.
We shall see. All right, let's
And
switch over.
for the record, Stephon Diggs has never been a problem in the locker room ever.
He seemed like
I mean, okay. I mean, we'll
the
see as
locker
this
room.
year
It
goes
seemed
on. I'm
like
just saying. We'll
Never
see.
been a problem in the locker room. I also, when people talk about he's been a problem, whatever going on in the locker room, been in the locker room.
he seemed like he bring the
Never been a
locker room
problem in the
together
locker room.
from what I could see.
Never been a problem in the locker room.
Yeah.
Never.
And all right, last thing. I was just gonna say, if there was one situation in the league, this is a very unique situation because you have one of the top three wide receivers and also a top three quarterback. So you can't even force 14 the ball because you have 17 doing so many different things, and everything is running through 17. So like, like and I don't think Stephon Diggs is mad about getting the ball. He just wants to win. Like he just want to win. And if me getting the ball increases our chances of winning, then give me the ball. But that's neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and move over to the defense. Sean McDermott, we just got done talking about him, but he is now coaching the defense exclusively. So all this, you know, was it him? Was it Frazier? You know what I mean? All that's out the window now. We get to see what, Sean McDermott, what his chops are as the play caller for the Buffalo Bills. How does this make you feel, Jamal?
Makes me feel good. I like that McDermott's calling the plays. Get back to his roots, aggressive. Zone blitzing, all the different exotic fronts he can put up. I feel great about it. He's got the corners to do it. I'm really high on Kyrie Elam, man. I mean, the advanced stats back it up. He had his best 2 game stretch at the those 2 playoff games. He played well in all the big games last year. I'm really high on him, man. If he gets those hands right and he's more handsy this year, he could be an extremely good corner, possibly even our best corner. But I'll save that for another day. I feel like Trey White's gonna come back, continue getting better. And we got Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde back. So he's got the horses to do in the secondary to leave those guys on an island at times and be really exotic in his pressures, his pressure packages and his pressure looks. So I'm excited to see what he does. Really am.
I will say before I let you talk, Mookie, I'm with you on that. I think he's going to end up being our best quarter by the season's end. Coach, how you feel about McDermott coaching his defense and what you expect from him?
Well, we're gonna find out if it was Leslie Frazier defense or it was Coach McDermott defense. Whatever the case may be, this defense led by Coach McDermott definitely has to be different from last year's defense, no matter who was calling it. So, like Jamal said, I do expect a more aggressive defense. When you look at the personnel that the Bills do have, they have a variation of personnel where they can go odd and even front. So I wouldn't be surprised in training camp you may see the Bills in the 30, more 3-4 front at times because you have the personnel to do it. I feel that you got to play these guys to their strong suits. I know the Bills are more of a 4-man front team, 4-2-5 core coverage type of team, but I mean, you have to be a little bit more exotic because that's not getting the job done. So you have to look and see what we're not doing different that's making a difference or a better impact on getting the defense, getting the offense off the field, or, putting our guys in position to, make some plays. So, you have to question yourself, about that defense. As good as this defense has been in the past 5 years, you still have to ask yourself those specific questions because those are areas where the Bills still lack at, getting to the quarterback, creating takeaways, stuff like that. They got to get to that point. I mean, yeah, they definitely it's going to be tough to score on them because of bend or break defense, and yeah, you're not going to be able to throw the ball on them at times. You know what I mean? So they're going to lead the league in that. But what are the Bills doing different? That extra element that they could lead in that is going to get them. That's going to pay off in postseason. So they gotta look at that. So I do expect Coach McDermott to have a more aggressive defense, whether it's an odd front or even front. They can go Jordan Phillips at the nose, Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, Leonard Floyd, and Rousseau. That's a good five-man front with Russo and I mean with Milano and Dotson. Maybe who knows? Then your corners and then your safeties. 3-4. You can move them around. You can rover. However you want to get. You can get real foxy. You know what I mean? In the 30. They have the personnel for it. That's all I'm saying. So me knowing and identifying that, I'm quite sure Coach McDermott realized that too. So I expect the Bills to be a little bit more exotic, more aggressive this year.
I will say that part of me hopes that we don't see a significant change in defense. And that's because, like, if it really wasn't his defense and it was like all Leslie Frazier, then that means he didn't control the offense. He didn't control the defense. He didn't control the special teams. All he did was be a conservative decision maker. And that would really bother me. Granted, he changed our entire franchise, and I give him all the credit in the world. I'm not taking anything away from that. But as far as our potential championship runs, he's been an extremely conservative decision maker. And if he didn't control the defense, then that's really all he's contributed. I mean, I don't know. I would like to see more pressure, but I really hope he had something to do with how good the defense is and that he can replicate that. But speaking of the defense, a vital part of the defense who is going to be coming back this year, but still, you know, coming off of a early season ending injury, neck injury for Micah Hyde. And of course, this year we have Taylor Rapp as well in the secondary to, help out with anything, should him or Poyer have any issues or whatever the case may be. What are you expecting from Micah Hyde coming back this season, Coach?
Um. Well, I expect him to be more focused. I expect to see a more determined Micah Hyde. I mean, obviously, you get wiser with time, but I understand he understands he only has a small window to get this thing done, especially coming off a neck injury. So I look to see probably your best Micah Hyde that you've never seen because the window is closing, especially with him. With this injury, I say 2 years at best with Micah. If they rack off a Super Bowl, of course he's riding off in the sunset. That's what he wants. So expect to see a better Micah Hyde this year. Probably one of your best. You probably see the best Micah Hyde you can possibly see. Barring injury. Hopefully that the neck injury is healed and it doesn't affect him mentally. I can't say that it won't. I mean he's the only guy that went through that process. So. But I look to see a more determined, a more better Micah Hyde, just because we know that he's nearing the end of his career, especially dealing with neck injury. So, he's definitely trying to get this thing done and over with for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the window for both him and Jordan Poyer. But we'll see what happens. What do you think about Micah Hyde coming back for the Buffalo Bills this season after him and Poyer were injured for much of last season? Jamal.
Yeah, more or less the same. I mean, I don't want to be too unfair. I know he's coming off a neck injury, so hopefully he's rebounding good and is close to 100%. But yeah, more of the same, 100%. More determined, more focused. One of the better seasons we've seen from Micah Hyde. So assuming he's fully rehabbed and is able to do the things he's able to do, and is not mentally holding himself back, I expect another great season from Micah Hyde.
I mean, they have been one of the best duos in the NFL for some years now. I just them both kind of getting long in the tooth, and if I just I just hope that they are able to still have the same energy and bring the same level of play to the field. Obviously that becomes a real question with how old they are and coming off an injury. Um, but I guess we will see. All right, all right. We're gonna do this before training camp. What are you guys' expectations for the season? Or no, for training camp? In any surprise roster cuts, any surprise players is going to make the roster. What's something that you think you might see coming out of training camp that you're excited for? I'm gonna go first.
You got a
I
lot of
mean,
position battles that's going to be highly competitive. Again, I say that this is probably the best or most competitive roster in the Beam McDermott era. On the show yesterday, we try to break down the final 53, and man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a good player that's not going to make this roster, or the Bills are going to, it's going to force the Bills' hands to probably make a trade, to make roster room. I'm telling you, is going to be a difficult time if you're, a general manager to figure out which good player is not going to make this team, because it's going to be a handful of good players that's not going to make this team, but they can go start in other teams. That's how good, that's how much quality depth this Bills team has, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. We boiled it down yesterday to Boogie Basham and Epinesa, on the 53-man roster. So something may give. It may be that route, or it may be a different route, but you know they can't keep everybody, much as they would love to. They can't keep everybody. So it's going to be interesting to see how many players they keep in each position group, and what positions will that be.
I mean, that was a safe answer. Who? Come on.
I
Who you
mean,
expecting to make the roster that nobody
so
else knows?
if I'm gonna say something, okay, yeah, I won't release him. I'll probably think about trading AJ Epinesa or Boogie Basham. I mean, realistically, when you look at, okay, Von Miller, he's on the PUP list. I don't think, they're going to get rid of Shaq. You got Rousseau on the other end. You just paid Leonard Floyd $7 million. So AJ Espinoza, he definitely played to his potential. He definitely flashed and showed you that, he's capable of, being the edge rusher. Even though I think he's more of a power rusher, and the Bills made him lose too much weight. He looks a little bit more comfortable this offseason with adding that weight back on. So I think he has a little bit more value than Boogie Basham. Boogie Basham, he has this year and next year under contract. AJ Espinosa is in his contract year right now. So I don't see the Bills realistically, paying him, a contract extension. And not when Russo's contract is coming up. You paying Von Miller 15 to 20 million, and you playing Leonard Floyd 7 to 9. So I don't see, that happening. So either that or the Bills will lose a good player in AJ Espinosa. So that's what it really boiled down to me. Like when you look at that was like how many defensive edgers are the Bills are going to keep? You got your interiors, but how many edgers are you going to keep? I mean, Vaughn, keeps somebody on the roster for 6 weeks, but after that, who's going to be the inactive player? So yeah, if you just want to be frank with it, just in my opinion, yeah, surprise cuts, surprise make the team. I don't think it's really a surprise, but since they drafted him in the 5th round, Justin Shorter, he could be a big surprise. I think, he's going to, the Bills are going to unlock what they need to unlock out of him that, Florida and Penn State couldn't unlock. So we're gonna find out about those two schools and why they couldn't unlock, this specimen of 6'4", 230 pounds, of a DK Metcalf. That not quite has the speed of a DK Metcalf, but he has some measurables. So, hopefully Bills can unlock that, and he has a solid preseason. Then yeah, he'll make this roster easily. The Bills will hold 7 wide receivers.
Yeah. number one wide receiver in the world coming out of high school, Justin Shorter, could be a surprise roster spot. Of course, I personally don't think BLEAV Basham probably should have ever made the team. And I feel like I was only hopeful because we got both him and Boogie. And I was like, well, hopefully one of them pan out. But if we would have drafted someone else in the first round and or we got him in group, but if we drafted someone else in the first round and Boogie was our only DE that year, I'd have been very, very upset looking at his college film. And I think his college film shows true to exactly how he plays in the NFL. He's a hustle guy, but I mean, we kind of need guys that's going to get to the quarterback on the fact that they are just more dominant than the person across from them. And I don't know how much of that Boogie has in him. What about you, Jamal? What do you think could happen this offseason? This training camp, excuse me.
Yeah, look over a couple of things. Obviously, the cornerback battle, cornerback number two, preferably, like I said, I think for this team truly to reach its potential, especially defensively, Kyler Elam needs to win that job. He has to win that job. Christian Benford, good. Dane Jackson, good. They are not, they don't have the ceiling of, 100% Kyler Elam. So, Elam has to win this job. And, and I think he will for this team to be at its potential defensively. When it comes to offensive line play, I kind of just see the way that we run the ball this year. We look at Osiris Torrance. The knack on him is his foot speed. So that's kind of kind of a kink in our scheme when we try to do these more athletic runs, getting our guards into space and whatnot. Will he be necessarily good at that? Will we do more power runs this year? Old school, hat in a hat type of power running football. I think that'll be interesting as well. Khalil Shakir. I feel like his name's kind of going under the radar. Really turned it on towards the end of last year. Can he kind of be this, this big three with, Diggs, Davis, and now Shakir? Those are really the main things for me, along, we got Kincaid, and, we have our defensive line and stuff like that. Those are really the three big things to me, kind of what I'm looking forward to in training camp.
I'm really not as big on Shakir as anybody is, but we'll see. Hopefully, I hope he pans out, obviously. We need all the good players we can get. I don't know about him. But we shall see. And sorry, Andre, bro, I sent you the link, but bro, I gotta work tomorrow, bro. I'm sorry, bro. All right, guys. Yeah, definitely next time. That's gonna do it for us here at BLEAV and Bills. Shout out to Bet Online, 26 shirts, FamBase, 96.5 WUFO. You already know the game. Coach, you want to go ahead and send this out?
The season is here. Do you believe? Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Now, find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all sports information, from live in-game betting props and futures. Head to Bet Online today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Now, use our promo code BLEAV50 to receive your 50%. Welcome your bonus on your first deposit. Now, Bet Online is where the game starts.